Morning to everyone. I will introduce myself. My name is Susana Rachâo. I'm doing the PhD in creative tourism here in Otave with partnership of Aveiro University. And that's why I'm talking today about some principles or some basic guides about creative tourism in which way we can apply this for tour guides. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you have questions you can just go and do me during the session. Let me see if this works. Works. So this will be the structure of the session. I will talk a little bit of the mutations in tourism demand, the concept of creativity, what is creativity and what we can do with creativity, creative tourism, some endogenous resources and the co-creation of experiences, and finally designing creative routes based on everydayness of the local people. So first of all, mutations in tourism demand. We all know that since 80s to 19th, the tourism behavior and the tourism motivations are very different, or some way different from now on. Some people are more well-educated, people travel more often, given the low-cost airlines. Today, everyone has the chance, or almost people have the chance to travel. So we are dealing with a new type of tourist. There is well-informed tourists. So I'm sorry. Okay, I did my very best. What I want to talk about first is the cultural strategies. And I brought 3 cases. And the first case is Barcelona. Probably you know that Barcelona is a case study regarding cultural tourism, creative tourism. And since the Olympic Games in 1992, Barcelona started to attract a lot of tourists and travelers. However, it's a case study as well when it comes to the similar cultural strategies. So it's a model that the other cities already borrow or copy. And this happens not only when it comes to the Olympic Games in sports, but as well as in the European capitals. And I brought the example of Porto, that was with Rotterdam in 2001, was the European cultural capital. And 11 years later, Guimarães, that is the north as well of Portugal, became again the European cultural capital, a capital of culture, sorry. And these models are predetermined. It will depend on the place they are taken. They will try to focus on the local knowledge, the local culture, but anyway, they are predetermined to be performed. So in this case, Richards and Wilson, they told us that similar cultural strategies are adopted in different places, but all follows the same steps. So if you go if you went to Guimarães 2012 European Cultural Capital, you will find the same layout, the same structure as in Porto in 2001, 11 years earlier. And Barcelona, sorry, I skipped this. Barcelona is often, as I told you, identified as a model of post-industrial reconversion and urban requalification. But now on, we know that Barcelona has a boom of tourists. So there's a lot of problems going around in Barcelona. I went to Barcelona in 2007, and I found a lot of tourists, but I could find Catalan people. I went to Barcelona in 2013, I only saw tourists. So if you want to find the culture of the place and you only see foreigners as you will not find so easily. It will be more difficult to deal with the local culture, to find local costumes. When we talk about the mutations, the changes in tourism products, we saw, as I told you, in the 80s, the historical tourism. This phase, people only see and observe. In the 19s, we're starting to talk about the cultural tourism. People are starting to see and doing somehow, doing things in a short period of time, and but starting to, this is the beginning of the learning phase. And finally, in the 21st century, we are starting to hear about creative tourism. And this means see, observe, co-create, do something in the local that we are visiting, but at the same time learning something from the local, from the place we are visiting. And we start to talk about edutainment, which means is education with entertainment. Never forget, people are on holidays. They want to be, they want to learn, but somehow they want to be amused. So they don't want to get bored about things. They don't want to go for work, but they want to learn something. So this is very important to mix education with entertainment. And the creative tourism. The creative tourism, the concept was born with the authors Richards and Raymond. And however, Rogerson wrote that the creative tourism was a reaction to the satisfaction with the cultural products because they are all standardized. So again, if you talk about European cultural capitals, you just change place, but all the same, use the same formulatic mechanisms. And this is a reaction from these kind of products. And I brought just one example. First one is Mona Lisa, the Louvre Museum. Sorry, I didn't translate, it's from Portuguese. Where you stay hours in queues just to see the museum. Unfortunately, I've never been there, but I'm not kind of people that wait 3 hours to go into a museum. I'm not. And then you have Creative France, which is an organization that provides experience regarding arts, taking as the museum, Louvre Museum, as an iconic point. But in this case, you are able to perform your own painting. You are not just seeing, you are seeing and doing. And you will deal with creative artists in the place. And the concept of creativity. What is creativity? So, we have the left and the right brain. I always mixed. I always think that the left brain is the creative part, but it's not. Our left part is where we have the rationality, the method, and the right side is the creative side, the imagination without boundaries. So in which case you think that to provide a guiding tour, since we are talking about guiding tours, which side we should use? The left side, the right side, the mix of both? Both. The both sides, of course. So we should have method, of course. We should have rationality when applying, when you're doing the tours. But from now on, it's very important to apply creativity because we found a lot of tours offering in the market, but we want to be standing out from the other ones and we want to catch people to come to our tours. So the creativity is the most important. construct. I will just, because creativity is so subjective, it's so difficult to define, I just brought some ideas, and for me, I just highlighted, I think this has, yes, I highlighted the most important parts of the definitions of creativity. So, useful ideas or solutions, the combination of common perceptions, that evokes the intention to buy, adopt it, use it, and enjoy it. Because we can be very creative, we can do reformulate things, but if they don't have any kind of usefulness, if no one wants to buy it, there's no purpose on that. Regarding tourism, it's development of new products or tourism experiences and new forms of consumption. And creative tourism is this, is a new way to consume places, products and services, or new tourist areas. When we talk about creativity, I brought the example as well from CAEA, that is a European organization, and they say, they wrote that there are 6 pillars for creativity. So, the first pillar is the human capital. So we have to have education and we have to learn. So people who cannot afford this creativity will be much more difficult to achieve. The institutional environment about, for instance, the intellectual properties and the fitness of the policies. So if you are creating something, if you are an artist, you have rights and nobody can copy your ideas. So this will be very mixed with the institutional environment. The creative output. So we need to track if our society where we live has in somehow providing creative outputs, and this will be regarding the statistics on the performance of cultural and creative industries, for instance. The openness and diversity, the exchange of ideas, and if you have places to be open to new ideas, and these places are, for instance, galleries, bookstores, places for networking. We all always, every day we heard about networking, but sometimes it's very difficult depending on the place or the city that you live. If you live in a small city, it will be completely different if you are in a major city. And technology, of course. If you don't have access to new technologies, you cannot share ideas, you cannot share contents, you cannot see what the other people from the other side of the world is doing. So this, at this moment, is very important. And the creative tourism, I don't want to bore you with the definitions, and I just brought these main ideas. As I told you, creative tourism, the authors of creative tourism are Richards and Raymond. Actually, the concept was came out in my city in a conference. So I come from Viana do Castelo, this is north of Portugal, very close to Spain, in the border. And in 2000, they came out with this concept. And what is creative tourism? Sometimes I talk with people about, I'm doing a PhD in creative tourism, but what is creative tourism? Creative tourism is nothing that experience in the place where you can learn. And this is the creative tourism. Not only doing, just riding bicycle, but learning something with that. And that's why I just highlighted active participation and learning experiences. And the involvement with the destination, of course. And one thing that I like to present in my presentations regarding creative tourism is the contemporary use of cultural knowledges. So, if you have, for instance, folklore, I think in every country have folklore. So, in which way we can use our folklore to perform or do dance performance. Based on that, we are using our culture, but in a contemporary use. And one thing about the creative tourism is the indigenous resources and the co-creation of experiences. This one, I brought this. I'm sorry, this is in Portuguese because this is applying in Portugal. I didn't have so many time to do some research regarding the other countries, but I think that every country has its own model. What is this? This is a tourist resource survey. So when I was doing my bachelor, it was the first things that we learned. If you are working in tourism, and especially if you are doing guiding tours, you have to do an inventory of the things that you have where you are working. And this inventory, at some point, here you will put the name. You have the inventory for cultural heritage, you have for natural resources, every type of resources, and then you must evaluate. And in the end, you must see if this, the assets that you are, the resources that you are doing the inventory has some attractive potential for customers. Because we can have a beautiful statue from the 19th century or 18th century, but if you cannot go easily there, if you cannot access easily there, in which way, of course, depending of your market, of your target market, in which way will be attractive. And I brought this these routes. These are promoted, probably you know, whereas people from Spain. I'm sorry, I bring all the time, not all the time, but very often Barcelona case study, because I like Barcelona and because I have been there and is a case study who is working or researching on tourism. And you find nowadays, again, I'm repeating myself every time, because I think this is very important, because we need to see the markets now at this moment and the markets where the tourism markets are going. And what is the market is offering for the customers. And we saw that more often we find some platforms that are guiding people for off the beaten tracks. Which means we don't want to be in the touristified areas. We want to discover areas from the major urban centers, for instance. And if you see in this corner, I put it here, I don't know if it is, you can see in back, they say undiscovered. Of course, this is for niche markets. We are talking about niche markets. But if we see from this point of view, if you are promoting these off the beaten tracks, in some point, they will become for masses as well, will be touristified. So I don't have data to tell you that this will happen, but it's a way that will happen. If you are promoting places that nobody knows, in some point, will catch a lot of attention from other people and will be massified. I can give you an example. I live very close for a natural resource, and it's a very beautiful space in the mountain. It's a lagoon, and it's not very easy to assess. So when you are reaching the point, you cannot go by car or even by, well, with the jeep, maybe you can go, but and afterwards you need to walk. And some years ago, I worked in a hotel for a long period of time, especially with German market. And at some point they discovered the lagoon. And they passed from one to another, the word of mouth. And if you are going there at this moment, imagine at the beach, because I live, this is very close, we are talking about the beach and the mountain. I'm a very lucky person. And if you are so much wind at the beach, it is not possible for go surfing, for instance, they will go all to the lagoon. So nowadays, in this moment, the lagoon that was undiscovered, it's already known by everyone. So if you want to go there for a peaceful place, that was a peaceful place, there is no longer a peaceful place. So that's why when we are doing this, we want to do something different. We want to discover different places. Afterwards, they will be massified. And this we are talking about because the people are more well qualified and we have technologies. We are sharing our experiments online. So, wow, what a beautiful place. Where have you been, Susana? I haven't been in this place. I can give you the address. And then everyone will go there. So, it's a challenge. Again, Barcelona, don't be a tourist. I think this is very interesting. And regarding the capacity of the place that people, the locals are afraid, even worse than afraid, from tourists. They are already bored about the tourists because tourists are every place. And this is another, this is Time Out. I don't know if you know the platform. They say, here the tourist high area, this is Sagrada Familia, I have been there as well. But they put here the alternative to this. So this is a way as well to show other places of the city, and somehow when you get to these places, and if you are buying a ticket, you are contributing for the economic prosperity of that place as well. So we are sharing, we are spreading the economic impacts. And just another example, the Goal Park, the tourist high area, and this, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. This is an alternative park to see. Then I brought this example as well. That is Ghent in Belgium. I don't know if you know the city. It's the one of most beautiful cities that I have been there. Normally I only talk about the experience that I have been. I don't like to talk about experience that I never took. So it's different. It's difficult to share because if you are on the place, you have a different view. And well, I have been some years ago. This is from last year. This travel guide, and they say in the very beginning, in the topic, in the headline, sorry, these tips from locals. So they are very enrolled with the tourism. It's a cultural city, but they give a lot of importance to the local community who is living actually there. And this is a way to involve the local community with the tourists. It's a very clever way. And for people who want to see other things besides the touristified areas, we can discover places based on the local set. Every time you go for a major city, you will find restaurants. There are typical restaurants for tourists. But if you ask for a local people, a local resident, maybe they will tell you, oh no, there is a restaurant that's so good, not so expensive, and you will find local cuisine, and then you go. And this is a way to direct people for other places. And the last example that I brought is New Zealand. So New Zealand has improved a lot of the tourism. Some good ideas come from New Zealand, and they have as well get off the beaten track. And you have here, for instance, the camper van experience tips. If you go to Portugal in some places, people don't like camper vans because they park in everywhere. There's specific spots for there, but they park everywhere and people don't like, not in a generalized way, of course. But here they have camper van experience tips. And if you have any question, just please ask me. I did an interview because I did some guiding tours in the beginning of my professional experience with seniors. So it was a different market. And I decided to do an interview for a colleague of mine that has an enterprise, an entertainment company, a empresa de animação turística. So I think we can do like this. And he's a guide tour. And he's very active. And in some point is very creative. And I came out with this results for my interview. So the first thing, and I was the only thing that I asked him, because in some point he started to talking about every time I not needed to do any question, and I asked him how to program guiding tours. And the first thing he told me, as I told you before, is the survey of the tourist resources. And then when you do the survey to the tourist resource, we will find some sports and leisure activities, of course, depending on the place that you are. Cultural tourism, for instance, city breaks, and tailor-made tours. They are the most important part of his business. So he works a lot with tour operators, and they ask him for tailor-made tours. And he programs for 1 day or half a day. And the most important thing is, again, to adjust to the interests of customers when we are talking, for instance, the tailor-made tours. And will depend, of course, the customer budget. We can do wow experience, but if the customer doesn't have a long budget, so forget it. We need to do a wow, but with a lower budget. And when I interviewed him, he told me about the city breaks. He works especially in Viana do Castelo, that is where I live. But he do guiding tours for Porto, for Guimarães, for Braga, all north of Portugal. So not only where he's based. He focuses on events and endogenous cultural values. He tries all the time. Of course, there's iconic points that he picks all people, the group, to go there. But he has as well some routes that he tries to pick the material, the intangible heritage, sorry. When we talk about some events, religious events, that in the north of Portugal we have a lot. Every week or every month we have a different religious events, and he tried to pick the group to that. And he told me one example that is very close to my home place, and I never went there. It's a very typical religious party with flowers, a lot of flowers. And the people really enjoy it to see how women, because it's women that were doing the flowers in big baskets. They put it above our heads, and it's all decorated with flowers. Well, it's very close to my home place. I never went there. But he picks people from Lisbon, he has groups from Lisbon. They say they were amazed with that. And this is a very small event. Nothing to do with bigger events like São João in Porto, St. John, sorry, in Porto. Doesn't have anything to do, but when it comes to people from outside and we try to pick our cultural values, the material values, people really like it. And again, tailor-made tours with specific interest, depending of kind of market we are dealing with. We need to ask them, what do you want to do? Do you prefer sports activities, like cycling tours? They have as well. Do you prefer to go surfing, for instance, or you want to go really cultural things, or you want to taste wines, for instance? They offer as well. I think we will do something like that during the afternoon.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, of course.
You want later.
No, you can do it. Go.
These little traditions, small places, have a particular atmosphere based on intimity, on closeness of community. I'm thinking, for example, about also these Salmiñes, cantos de ánimas, where the places in Iraña Nova, in the frontier, normally, they sing to the animas of Purgatorio, the people. Now with this Canto Alentejano movement to be declared as human heritage, world heritage, they want really also to show to tourists this kind of traditions. In this case, especially of the Armenians, but maybe in any other of these fields, you can maybe find some reaction of the locals to the tourists. So have your friend, or have you seen some of these reactions? Or I know, for example, I know in Catalonia, I don't remember the name of the village, but they have a local feast tradition. They don't want tourists there. They have said, here we don't want this day tourists in this tradition. They just want the local people participating. So I see here a source of tension.
Yeah, you are right. I don't have. He didn't told me anything about this kind of tension, but I can imagine that happens in different places. One thing, and there is another event that he told me, and this is very, very, very peculiar. In brief, it's somehow in the middle of the mountains. Has a duration of 3 days, I guess, or 2 days. So you only have a little church in the middle of mountains. Now they have 3 or 4 bathrooms, and was an old monastery for priests. This is very, very small. In a large mountain, you only have one road to go there. There is performing in August, and my colleague picked some tourists, some visitors to there. They were completely amazed with that. And when as I told you, I worked in a hotel, and it's the job of receptionist to guide people. Oh, there is this event going on, and one time I sent them to there, and they said, oh my God, what can possibly people do in that place? And they were amazed about the place, because you don't have anything. It's only about the atmosphere. And they are playing and singing. Portuguese, I don't know how to translate. São concertinas, very typical from Portugal, from the north of Portugal. And they were there, and they didn't tell me anything about this kind of tension. Maybe because it's so small. And one thing that Portugal is, and it's all in guidelines from Tourisme de Portugal, is that we are an hospitality country. So I can guess people now it's embracing tourists. Maybe in Lisbon not happen the same. So in small places, people, I want to think that people are open to tourists. But in major places, maybe not. But I don't have that kind of this tension between local people and the tourists. I don't have that feedback. But maybe one day.
It depends on the kind of the tourism.
As well, of course. Because if you are, for instance, the lagoon that I told you, I know the owners of the one place. They are Germans. I worked and I still work with some Germans, and they are young people from 25 up to 40 years old, and sometimes they do a lot of noise in that lagoon. They bring their own stereo, and they put the music very loud. So yes, of course, will depend of kind of people, what kind of tourists that you are dealing with, of course.
Do you know in Greece the island Mykonos?
Yes.
Okay, right next is Tinos, which is an island with churches and very quiet. And now, every summer, the last 5 years, after Mykonos, everybody is going to Tinos. And Tinos has a problem with that, because they don't want this kind of tourism with partying and everything. And it is a problem there, there is a tension.
They go because it's cheaper, but Mykonos is very expensive, so if they want to combine and stay longer, they need to go to another cheaper island.
And this is generalizing, this is only because we have more information available. We have technologies. We can search on the web, oh, this is more, it's less expensive. I want to go there. I want to see there. And that's why, and people are more well educated. Some years ago, you can just say something about one church, oh, this is this. Oh, okay, again, depending on the kind of group that we are dealing with. But you will say in a general way, okay, this is Palácio de Mateus. I don't know if you have been there, here in Vila Real. Maybe you will go there, I don't know. Because it's the one, or just the one iconic place here in Vila Real. They will talk and they will say, this came from this century. People doesn't want that kind of information nowadays because you can just Google it. Okay, this is from this century, this is from this, and so what? So people are more well educated. People know what we want, know their budgets, and they know, okay, just see what we can do, and that's why it's happening to even to small places.
Susana, I think that people like me who have a tourism company have to work in the way of sustainable tourism. We can't do that in a place like the island you said. We have to educate tourists not to do that. If we go, for example, to a lake or to a desert beach, we can't throw rubbish in the floor. We have a mission that some people are not doing right. We have to work and to make an effort to have a sustainable tourism. Because Douro, for example, and Oporto, now in August, is like a hell. Local people can't live there, and this is not sustainable. And companies like mine are working to make money only for that. And they bring tourism and tourism and tourism, and it's not about that. For example, I want tourism in my region, but I don't want to transform Chaves or Montalegre or a place like Pitões das Júnias, that is a small village near Montalegre, and I go there frequently with groups. But if it is full of tourists, it won't be an amazing landscape anymore, because they will destroy everything. We have to educate tourists. That's what I think on that matter.
Yeah, well, for sure. And educate tourists and educate the professionals that work on tourism.
Of course.
Since we are seeing, for instance, in Portugal, now they say, oh my God, tourism is our salvation. Is that I started to study tourism. My bachelor was just by chance, luckily. In 2004, we started to talk about, oh, tourism will be one of the main sectors of the economy for Portugal. And now we see. Everyone is starting to talk. Every scientific areas, economics, history, geography, are talking about tourism. But for one, in my opinion, the first thing we need to do is to educate the professionals that work on tourism, especially in Portugal. Because there are a lot of people that doesn't have any kind of qualifications, and they cannot educate it as well, if you can say that, tourists like that. Yes, please.
I think that if you focus on having mass tourism in your country, like big groups of tourists, there are countries and there are destinations that are actually, you know, they say we don't mind, we want to have like big groups of tourists who come and take pictures, whatever. They don't really enter into the culture, they just pass and go. And these kinds of tourists are the ones who don't actually care about the destination. So they just want to see themselves there and take a picture and then leave. So if you try to focus on presenting your tours and your destination in a more sophisticated way, and then you will attract the people who want to have more, you know, more experience, cultural interchange and exchange. And this is something that has to be done on a central level for a destination or for a country. And because again, in Greece, I come from Greece, we have the islands, Santorini, Mykonos, so there you have mass tourism. We are attracting now, I don't know how many millions of Chinese people coming. And we say, okay, in the next year we will have millions of Chinese touring around Greece. I don't know if this will be, you know, this will be a lot of money, but nothing else.
And sometimes even not a lot of money, because in many cases everything is prepaid in tour operators.
Exactly.
So very little money actually stays in the local economies. Maybe, you know, in the intermediate levels of a Greek tourist agency, but the local society don't profit from that much, apart from, you know, souvenirs and things.
Yes, it's true.
But the good thing is that there are other tour operators, newer tour operators that don't work. They are international, but they don't work as the other big companies. And they focus more on responsible tourism, on sustainable solutions in tourism. And they try to find tour companies in countries, in different countries, that they have this different mentality to go on a different footpath than the mass tourism footpath. So it's something that is changing, but still
Yes.
it depends a lot on how you promote your tours and your destination.
Of course, and just speaking your idea about the tour operators. Again, my experience, I work with a tour operator, German one, and now is different. I still communicate with them, but in the beginning of their work in Portugal, in the north of Portugal, they bring the instructors, the guides from Germany. So there's no Portuguese people working.
Are they allowed to drive?
They are allowed, yes, they are. And for 3 months, they came in June, they will go on September. This is my own experience, so this is based on my experience. And they bring people from Germany, workers from Germany. Normally, it's people well-educated, people that start to doing bachelors on sports, because they come. This is not very typical. The German market that I deal with, it's completely different from German market that is on Algarve. They came from active holidays. They came just for riding bicycle, just walking, cycling, so this way. And they came with workers from Germany. And just this year, they start to work with Portuguese companies, direct Portuguese companies. We are talking about, for instance, I forgot the word, transfers. People doing transfers from a Portuguese company. A small company, so just now. And so can you imagine, so they are here from 20 years ago, and just now they are trying to deal with Portuguese people. And because the instructors are from the new generation, if you can say that, and they say, no, I want Portuguese people. I will guide you to this place, but I want Portuguese people talking about the places. It will not be me doing that. So in this way, things are changing, but in bigger scale, I don't think so that it's so changing a lot. And we will always have mass tourism. People don't want to care. I want to go to New York. I just want to go take pictures from there because I was in New York and I will post on my Instagram. I don't want to care about if you throw away garbage or if you are just wasting water on the pipes, for instance, or just throwing away towels every time, changing. This is just one examples. The mass tourism will always have an active role in tourism. This kind of things is when we try to change something, we are moving to niche markets, very tiny markets. Okay. And one thing that my interviewer told me, you have two types of guides. I don't know if you are on time. Yes, I am. You have two types of guides. You have a tour leader or a tour guide, he explained to me. The first one, the tour leader, is that kind of person that only count people. If you are going into a church, just say, okay, we are 20, go. And then he's counting the people if everyone is on the group. And present the program and monitoring the entries and exits. And then you have the tour guide that will do counting the people, presenting the program, and will monitor the entrance, but will tell the stories about the place. And one thing that I want to highlight is that from the beginning you need to catch the attention of the tourists, and then you have to tell in your guiding tour, you have to tell little stories that at the end will fulfill a big story. Not small parts, fragmented parts, but in the end you have to have a line of thought of the history. And the involvement steps. As I told you, I just work a little bit on guiding tours. It's not my area, and now I'm doing research. So, and one thing that I really like it. I transform in this kind of steps. He told me in a brief way, but he told me the involvement steps of the tour guide. And one, he said, that was the stranger. So you are a group, as me at this moment. I just met you, and I'm the stranger to you. I'm doing a presentation about guiding tours. And at some point, you need to catch the attention of people, and you need to know more or less the interest of everyone, to catch the attention of everyone. And one thing, very important, to catch the attention, because sometimes we are talking. He said to me that he was talking, and people all the time are people just chatting a little bit, and he said it's very boring when we are talking to a public that is not getting any attention. And at some point, you will try to see which are the opinion leaders on a group, and to catch the attention of the opinion leaders, because then afterwards will be more easier to catch the attention and to catch the group. And at the final point, the front. Of course, these involvement steps are not just for instance, half-day tour. It's impossible, of course. It's for 1 or 2 days. So when you are more than 1 day working with a group, showing different places. And the last step will be the friend already knows the group and inspires confidence. So they start to talking more, not so much in a professional way, but now more in a friendly way.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, of course.
I have a friend, he's not a professional guide, although he guides also groups of tourists, normally Australian tourists, in Extremadura, in his quinta, his field, at his home, because he knows very well how to add value to his property and to the environment. But when the groups come, he says like this: okay, I'm not your guide, I'm your friend, give me a here. The first thing, to break
the ice.
After that, so maybe he's speeding up all this process a little bit.
He's going further the steps, he's skipping the steps.
Anyway, it's a nice strategy, or a nice maybe it's not in a strategy, but also his temperament to say, let's end with barriers. And he tells me always, someone is driving and guiding the group here, some Spanish driver, for example. He's speaking bad words, as many Spaniards do, and he says always, this cannot be. He's ambassador. We told it yesterday. Tour guides are ambassadors also, because they are many times the only ones of the local people that are interchanging and communicating with you. So he was saying, I am like this, elegant, friendly, but this one is smoking, saying bad words. We have learned a lot about also from a friend that is not now an official guide in Cáceres, not to do all these things as guides. It's interesting to observe that there are so many details that can configure the tourist experience and the image that they are bringing from the country and the people, just in these little contacts that can determine if they come back or they say to other people, go there. It's really a delicate interchange with guides.
I think it's all about details. Because they will be the details that will provide you a memorable experience or not. If the person who is with you provide you a massive experience, of course they are ambassadors. We are all ambassadors where we belong. If someone will ask you on the street, oh, Susana, not Susana because will not know me, oh, please, can you tell me where to go because I lost my train or something? If you are friendly, of course they will say, oh my God, the people in Portugal, the people in Spain, the people in Greece, they are so friendly. It's all about the image that we provide to other people, and it's all about details. Simple things sometimes are the best ones to bring with us to our home and say to our parents, to your sons or to your boyfriends, oh my God, I have been in this place. They were so friendly. And sometimes the experience you can go for bungee jumping was awesome. But then if the ambience, the environment, the atmosphere of the place is not so, is redundant, we will say, okay, the bungee jumping was okay, but the rest, the local cuisine, the local people, and it's all about it's all about people. Okay. I work in tourism, and this is my experience. It told me people want to see people, local people especially. I want to see, oh, are you from here? What do you do? What is well-educated people will talk, and it's about your salaries and about your quality of life, what's going on now. It's all about people. I don't like crowded places, but I like to see people. So if we are not qualified, the professionals of tourism, if don't have, I'm not talking about higher education. I'm talking about for the waitress, for the receptionist, everyone that works on tourism should have a qualification on tourism. This is for me, is from the basis. So it's one thing that we should, because we were talking about the tour guys smoking, saying bad words, this can be, for sure. So starts with qualifications. And I'm in the end of my session. I just brought the main conclusions. So the most important thing when I was doing the presentation for you and doing my own research to this is the resource inventory. To see what the place that you are working, what you think that is, okay, this is iconic. I should put on my guiding tour, but what else can I put it there that will be different from the other ones that are already doing touring guides? Design a route based on diverse topics, not only, for instance, based on seafront or just the mountain. Try to combine different, have different paths, tours, but combine some tours as well. Not only providing cultural tours, but cultural, for instance, with gastronomy. People are just getting more involved with gastronomy. We see a lot of foodies. We see the programs on the TV, MasterChef everywhere. I like to cook, but at this moment I don't like to see that programs, for God's sake. It's enough. But people want to taste local food. Be aware about potential groups' motivations and needs all the time. If we are talking about with little children, if we are talking about teenagers, if we are talking about adults, if the adults have higher qualifications or not, because then we will change the speech of our tour. Know local people that can provide useful tips and storytelling, and use that people, if possible, during the tour. Because we will improve the experience. We'll see, okay, these, I forgot the word in English. Some typical broderie, on the fabrics, I forgot the word, sorry, like this. You can help me, I don't remember, it's not broderie, it's something similar like that. Where I came from, not sewing, but anyway, doing this kind of bordados. Os bordados. Anyway, some people are very interested in sea people. Normally, where I came from is on towels, for instance, or scarves. They are very expensive because they are handmade, and people want to see who is doing that. Normally, ladies are doing that, old ladies, and people want really to see these kind of things. Only just for a brief moment, 20 minutes, but they want to see and use this kind of local people. And choose the type of tour guide you want to be. So, if you really want to be just a tour leader, just saying, okay, go there and go there. Everyone is here, or not everyone, okay, I must find out. For instance, I was a tour leader when I did with the seniors. I was a tour leader for sure. Because I program, normally one of the things that I did was regarding wine tourism in the north, not here, in Vinhos Verdes wine region, and they like it. But I only guide them to I booked the restaurant, I guide them to the places where I choose, and then afterwards in the very same places, in the farms, was the local people doing and explaining everything. So I was just a tour leader, I was not a tour guide. And use creative thinking, and this is the most difficult part. We can all be creative, yes, we can, but at some point we can think creative in a creative way, but remember the definitions of creativity. Must be useful, and people must want to buy it. So if it's very creative, it's out of box, but okay, we are doing this, well, I don't want to do this. Of course, we'll not have customers, and in the end, it's our profession, it's our business, so we need to have customers. And this is my presentation to you. I hope you like it. Thank you.
We are talking that they have a very important role, that is, this means until now in the tourist industry, but I think we have really to fight a little bit
to regulate
and to educate guides, and as you said, educate citizens also to care and to know better their heritage and to answer any visitor. Okay, you have here the museum, the Times of Museum, because it happened to me in Portugal, for example, to ask for a charge 5 kilometers there, and someone from the village say, I don't know it, or I don't know if it's open or it's closed, or there is a museum there, but I don't know the sketch or whatever. So it's, I think we are in a good line of offering programs and educative programs for tourists and for any cultural heritage mediator or ambassador.
All right.
No, I just wanted to mention that I think, I don't know if there exists, but it would definitely be necessary to have like a European research on what exists in terms of regulation for tour guiding in each country. Because this can actually help have a better view and also locate best practices. And because Greece, for example, is the exact opposite. Almost nobody can be a tour guide apart from those licensed by the national authorities.
Inside the archaeological sites.
Inside the archaeological sites, yes, of course.
Just let me tell you, sorry to interrupt. In Portugal was the same.
Yes,
Was the same. Only few people have access to be a tour guide. So they have to perform an exam. I just heard, was not my interest, my professional interest, but they have to perform an exam with a lot of different skills, and just few people just could be a tour guide, but not anymore. So I don't know which kind of things people need to do now.
I don't know if it is good or not, because only this way I can be a tourist guide because I'm a teacher.
Well, one thing that my colleague... oh, sorry.
I think it's... the customer must choose what's good and what it isn't. I was a teacher for almost 20 years, and then I gave up and I created my own business in tourism, and I decided that I wanted to live from that and to live for tourism. And if I had to do a bachelor degree or some studies, I don't know that with 40 years old I would want to start again. I was doing a PhD in literature at University of Oporto, and I gave up of everything because I was tired, completely tired of education in Portugal. And what I did was, if I was a teacher, I could teach myself something. So I studied on my own, and I've learned, and I tried to learn every day to be better in my profession, to be a good example. And I know many tourist guides with a bachelor degree that can do their jobs in a good way, as there are many doctors and teachers and lawyers that are not good enough to be. So customer in tourism has the chance to decide. I like this one, okay, I will come back. I didn't like, I will never come, and I won't do it again anymore.
Yes, you are right. However, if you are a tourist, you don't want to have a bad experience. So when you are booking, you don't know if he's a good traveler. You never know, of course. One thing that my colleague during the interview, he said to me one important thing, and this, my degree, my bachelor, my degree, my master's, and my PhD is in tourism. It's not economics, it's not geography, it's on tourism. And sometimes we have the problem that it's not our profession is not recognized. And he was saying to me, Susana, we need to have a stamp saying this was approved. Do you need the approval of a technician from tourism?
That would be great, because I would like to have that. One of the major problems I still have in my town, that is Chaves, and it is a small town, is first of all that I was not a tourist. I was a teacher and I was a woman, and I created a company of tourism, and I'm a tourist guide, and I created my business. I knocked every door, and they still look at me without having confidence on me. I'm the teacher. I'm not the tourist guide. And now, I don't know, I only need a register on the Tourism of Portugal, and I have that. But that seems not enough to prove that I am at least capable of doing this.
Yeah,
and I'm
right.
working since 2014. I work, apart from my company, I work for a Lux tourism company, a Spanish company. They trusted me from the very beginning. And in my hometown, they don't trust me. So I do, for example, I do more jobs for that company than for my company. I do more jobs at, I have more work at Guimarães, Braga, Porto and Douro, with that kind of niche tourism, which are millionaires from America, the United States and Canadians, and they trust me to do them, and they trust their clients to me. And to do a tour guide in Chaves, I almost need a requirement from, I don't know what, from the government. I don't know, we need to, there's a kind of mentality we have to change here.
Especially in the small cities.
The small cities, yes.
The first big problem I had was a woman being the CEO of a company.
It is jealousy, it's a lot of things,
I don't
especially if your company is going well. I think that it's almost normal in a small city.
Yes,
to have this
I
kind of-
work with 5-star hotels, and I don't work with other hotels because they don't call me. Why? The problem is that near my town, I only have one 5-star hotel, which is Vidago Palace Hotel. So when they don't call me, the others won't call me. What I do is to work for the other company and going to Porto, Braga, Guimarães, and well, now that my website is more known, because I only work with a virtual office through the internet, and I created the website. I only needed some help. I wasn't a web designer too, but I created it. I only needed someone to help me out with some layouts and something. And on our own, it's me and my husband and a collaborator of mine, so three people. We did everything to how can I say it, to be more known in the internet, and now we have a direct contact with the customer, which is good for us because hotels in my town don't call me. It's the opposite. I call them because I need accommodation for my clients. That's the problem in the north of Portugal, apart from more in Trás-os-Montes. the mentality of people. They want tourism, but they want to work with tourism companies. I had to call the president of the municipality of Chaves many times until he finally received me. The chance I had to work with them was through the Eurocidade Chaves Brim, who they have been nice and they trusted me and they worked with me in some occasions, but it was exactly the opposite way. I had to only when I was known in other parts, then
They recognize your work.
Oh, okay, she's from here, she's from Chaves, yes, we know her.
And it should be in the other way around. Where you are based, people say, okay, you are doing your job, you are in the first year, so we'll try to promote your job, and not the other way around. But just speaking about, again, the platforms, the online platforms. All we know, we heard about Airbnb, crowd surfing, I'm saying correct because I know, crowd coach, coach. I was thinking about crowdfunding and crowdsourcing. This disruptive model that we are living now, it's somehow difficult to manage. And we see Uber against two taxi drivers.
Yes.
So it's very difficult. And this kind we were talking about the intermediators. Well, this is have the advantage and an disadvantage. So if we are online, we have our platform, we have social media channels, we are reaching our customers directly. This is good because we don't need anyone in the middle. But considering the type of services and activities that we are doing, could be a problem as well. Because now everyone can be a tourist provider. And again, we are going this way. The educations, the qualifications, and who is able to do guiding tours, who is not able to do guiding tours. So I don't know in which point we will end. So I don't have the answer. Maybe you don't have the answer as well. So there's always advantages and disadvantages. And but it's a pity that happened that to you, since you are a woman, and this is for me a very particular field, and not give the chance to local people to increase. Should be the political or the city hall directors, influencers should say, no, we should promote our little business here.
I even say to them, to the president himself, call me, I'm going for free. You won't have to pay me anything. If you have an event on our town, for example, we had the day of our town, the 8th of July, and they don't need me at all. They do everything by themselves. They don't call me and they don't call the others. It's not only because it doesn't happen only with me. I have a colleague, and he's a man, and he has a company like mine, and he works. He has more experience than me in this area. They work since I think 2010, and they don't call him at all. So, and many companies have closed before mine because it was a difficult relationship among companies, tourism companies, and the owners of the hotels, or they don't see how we can be useful to them. They just can't see it.
Or maybe they don't want.
But they don't have, during winter, they don't have customers. They are almost empty in January. Some are closed in January. We have a 4-star hotel in Charge, which is closed during January because they wouldn't have people at all. And it's a national monument, that hotel. And it is closed during a month. And we don't understand that. How can it be possible with so many events on January? As Feiras do Fumeiro, the smoked ham, the smoked sausages, they are during the January. So if a 4-star hotel is closed in January, it's not a good sign. The others are empty at all. We only have one hotel which is regularly full or almost, and now it is doing some restoration works. It's a 3-star hotel just in the center of the town. But the others are just empty. And then we have the casino hotel. And they have a strange policy with not working with tourism companies at all, because they want their clients, their customers to be inside the hotel and the casino. They don't want them to spend money outside their hotels.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to say that because we also face the same problems in Greece, how to empower local entrepreneurs, etc. And because we've been having a few meetings in the past year with the National Tourism Organization, despite the fact that they say, yes, we are interested in all that, they actually don't do much because they haven't really forged a policy. And sometimes I dare say that even people working in these organizations are not really trained in tourism. They're public officials. They just assign a few things, but they don't have necessarily the expertise. Few of them do, but they cannot mobilize the mass, the critical mass of the rest of people to actually do groundbreaking things. For example, a groundbreaking thing would be to create local clusters of small entrepreneurs, a sort of chains from the restaurant, the souvenir maker, etc., etc., and then you go from one to the other, in an easy manner. But they don't seem to be able to organize all that. There are no regulations for that. So the easiest thing is say, we go to TUI, the big tour operator, we formulate our policies according to their demand, and that's it.
That's it. This year, I don't know, but some years ago, the Secretary of the Tourism was a lawyer. And I'm sorry, but I cannot understand if someone is providing policies to the tourism area. He's a lawyer. Okay, he knows laws. Okay, good for when it comes to for the tourism sector. If he's a lawyer, why is not someone related to the tourism area with experience? Which I don't know. This is only my opinion. Yes, please.
No, in Greece, I think it used to be a lawyer, and now it changed. He's a civil engineer.
It's getting better.
We have a lawyer too here.
It happens in all areas.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that way. In a small city close to mine, some years ago, the person from the city hall regarding the tourism sector, doing the policies again, was a nurse. So yes, okay. Our tourism needs some health. So, but it's a local. So when it comes, even in the small places, small towns, they are more easy to regulate or to construct something, and the people who's in the leadership, doesn't have any kind of feeling, perception. Okay, because we'll find everyone talks about tourism, even civil engineers. Everyone knows, oh, tourism, that area. So it's so easy. Oh, Susana, you are studying. No, you are doing tourism. You're not studying. So in this, we need to change this kind of mind, because tourism is a lot of much more.
There's need for research. There's really room and need for research at this level. Because you need to brand completely new ideas. So you need to have some study in advance to see, whether it's going to be successful or not. To try to avoid the mistakes in the past that you invested millions on an idea and then it didn't fall through somehow. So I think, and also international research or European level. These are things that we lack actually. We are tourists from one country to another, but the authorities don't actually cooperate that closely to create on a European level touristic products that aim at empowering local societies, at empowering local entrepreneurs, etc.
So the networking, the word is always came up, and networking, even in small towns, doesn't work at all. So it's very good on papers, on research papers. I know I need to put networking, but it's not happening.
Association of Municipalities with Thermal Springs. So once we presented the project to him, he became excited because he doesn't actually have people who do a bit of research in that. He's trying to do things out of his own experience, but his entourage, let's say, it's not really well trained. So he immediately gave a boost to our project because he sort of considers us as a kind of consultants now for touristic activities related to thermal springs.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of another example in Greece, that there is a civil society association of people, mostly from people from archaeology and art and culture and former politicians. So they are trying to create some cultural roots in Greece that would also involve the local societies and the local producers of local products, and this is something that has had a lot of success in the but I'm going now to, so in the mind and the idea and the whole organization, but when it comes to the actual implementation of and the networks and how all this idea will become practice. No, it's not working because we have the local authorities who don't have this mentality. You have unfortunately the local people who they want to do business, but they don't know how to do the business. So you have a very good idea in the papers, but when it comes to the implementation of
And even in that case, the idea wouldn't have been as successful if the person who is in charge, who was inspired all that, was a former minister. He knows actually the channels of how to promote a few things. Whereas, if you and I started something like that, 5 days later it would be dead because nobody would listen to us.
And I'm so very sorry to tell this, but our local power doesn't have any idea of anything about tourism at all, because I told with my colleagues who had closed their company, and the problems were the same. I give you the best example I have of my experience during the first years of my work. I was promoting tours at Chaves thermal springs. One day in the morning, I arrived and I didn't see my materials. And somebody told me they were in the rubbish because the person in charge saw the flyers, and she didn't want to that kind of promotion there, and she threw the flyers and my materials into the rubbish. So what can these people wait? They want people to do treatments in the thermal springs and nothing else. What they will do?
You know, tourism is a very fragmented sector, but more and more people are interested in combined things.
Of course.
Not only do some thermal, because I can imagine myself doing some, for instance, thermal experience, and then afterwards a very good dining experience with wines from the place that I will. And it's not only be me, other people must be interested in this, so we must combine. And you were talking about, I don't know, it was you, yes, of course, about the casino, because they want to put people from the hotel to the casino and just...
Yes, of course.
They will become addicted, I guess, if you are in a hotel and the
That's
casino.
what they want to. They want the addiction.
I don't know if it's a very healthy
policy. It
Policy.
is, but it is the policy of the casinos in Portugal.
True.
How healthy can a casino be anyway?
Sorry?
How healthy can a casino be anyway?